Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Big Nickel IDP podcast. I am your host, Jon Macri, fantasy analyst over at PFF. Draft season doesn't stop as we keep previewing the incoming class of rookie IDPs. And oh man, we got a good one today. We are 1 week away from the draft, probably less depending on when you're listening to this. But now that we've covered the edge class, we dove into the safeties. It's now time for everyone's favorite position in IDP, the linebackers. So without wasting any more time, let's get it. LFG. It's time to talk some LBs. And joining me, as always, to talk rookie linebackers from footballguys.com, my Molson brother, the pride of the Upper Peninsula, an undefeated beauty pageant champion for over a decade running, Kyle freaking Bellefeuil. How you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great. You're just hyping me up. I'm getting pumped, dude. Talking LBs, just excited, man. And I appreciate the kind words being the pride of the UP. That means a ton.
Absolutely. I think of the Upper Peninsula. There's only one man who represents as much as you do, and it's true. You are the pride of the Upper Peninsula, the pride of probably all of Michigan, if we're being totally honest.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. It's a heavy load to bear, but I'll do my best.
All right, sounds good. Well, yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. I'm excited too. This is it's always fun to talk rookie linebackers, and especially now we're so close to the NFL draft. Usually we started off the rookie preview episodes with linebackers. We switched it up a little bit this year, and we're closing with the linebackers. So we are super close to the NFL draft. But yeah, I'll be curious to get your thoughts on this class because I don't know. I mean, we talked a little bit about this like just before we went on, and I don't know. For me, anyways, I feel like I'm slightly worried about this linebacker class for at least for IDP. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's different. It's a different class for sure than what we've seen. Not as top heavy.
No, I'm totally with you. I have the same reservations with this class. It's a different class, and there's a lot of like projection involved with a lot of these guys, and you can definitely see people liking some guys more than the other. They all different shapes and sizes, different roles. I mean, that's a common theme a lot of years, but this year just seems more prevalent than ever. And I have the same kind of worries. And as always, we hope the capital and landing spot sorts a lot of it out for us because right now, it's like you said, it's a little bit worrisome for IDP, but hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like landing spot's going to tell us a lot.
Sure.
About these guys, right? I mean, there's a lot of kind of undersized guys, I think, in this class more so than usual, and but like they're still decent. It's just they all have like pretty unignorable red flags kind of thing. I don't know if unignorable is if that's not a word. I don't think so.
It is now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're obviously we'll get into it and stuff. But yeah, I just came away feeling a little hesitant about this class. There's usually, in past years that we've done, there's usually like a handful of guys I'd be really excited about. I'd say less so for this one. But we'll see. I mean, we'll go through them. We'll do it like we usually do. We'll run through these guys in alphabetical order here. We'll talk about their strengths and weaknesses and final thoughts and favorite landing spots, stuff like that. And then we'll rank them at the end. Kyle's probably got a couple sleepers as well that he'll throw at us that'll really help kind of get an idea of who else is in this class aside from the guys that we go into like a real detail about. But yeah, what do you say we get into this and start things off here in Washington State with Daiyan Henley?
Yeah, man, let's roll. Daiyan Henley, he's been a guy. It's been really fun to watch him kind of rise up through this whole process. From the beginning to now, he's really been a hot name in a linebacker class that we've had reservations about, as you said, John. So he's been one of the guys that's kind of been keeping the motor going for this class. So yeah, he started his career at Nevada as a former wide receiver kick returner. He transitioned to linebacker in 2020. He had a nice final season there in Nevada, and then he finished at Washington State this year. Had a really nice year, 106 tackles, 54 solos, and then 12 tackles for loss. So just a real solid year, tackles and the splash plays. Being a former wide receiver kick returner, obviously he's going to be an athletic dude. So he ran a 4.5 440 at the combine, which was solid. He's got plenty of range, and he could cover the field sideline to sideline. Also, at the combine, I thought he ran through the position drills really fluidly, which you always like to see those guys just move well when they're asked to do the drills that the NFL guys are putting them through. He's a smaller linebacker at 6 foot 225, but I thought he was a pretty aggressive player. And I kind of thought there was some nice reps of him driving through tackles. You always love that, you just like guys that are small but finish too, because it's a big deal to hit and stick even as a smaller dude. As an aggressive athletic dude, if he reads it, he can get it quickly. He just closes and gets it done. And then working through traffic, there's times where I thought he was pretty slippery, evading blocks, and as a blitzer too, kind of can dodge and weave, and he's going to have to evade blocks because he's just not an overly big dude,
Mm-hmm.
But you definitely like to see that. You got to be crafty when you're a dude his size and use your athleticism in those ways to make the plays. And that's how you get those double-digit tackles for loss, man. You got to be able to see the blockers before they get to you. And I thought there were some nice reps of that. In coverage, I thought he did a nice job with the in zone coverage. I thought he had a pretty nice field. And then also when he was down at the Senior Bowl, he got great reviews in the one-on-one drills, in the man coverage drills, which, I mean, I know, it's practice and whatnot, but those one-on-one drills are tough on the defenders. He got really good reviews in those drills. And I thought that was big for him, being, fairly new to the position. And as far as weaknesses, like I said, he's a smaller linebacker. He has good length, but being a smaller guy, he struggles to get off blocks.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he gets tied up a little bit much, and he's just not. He's not going to be a stack and shed guy. Maybe he can get better with that, as a guy who's newer. But I just overall he came across to me that as a guy who needed to be kept clean so he could run and chase, because that's where he's at his best. They say he's a pretty aggressive guy, and when you have a guy who's aggressive and athletic that wants to make plays, he's going to overrun his fits, and when he does, and he's in the wrong position, he can get washed out when they find him. Saw that on tape, so I just like to see him play a little bit more under control. And like I said, he's a position convert, and with that, I thought his eyes were a little consistent, and he had a tendency to bite on eye candy, and he struggled with misdirection a little bit, and that that led to him getting out of position, and his blockers finding him, and he's not able to get himself clean. But that said, there's room to develop because he is a position convert, and he's continually rose through this process, and these are things you hope he cleans up as a guy who's fairly new to the position. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing. Like, you could tell he's still a little bit newer to the position, right? But, there's pros and cons that come to it. I mean, he's definitely on the smaller side, but, it's not like we haven't seen smaller guys have success in the NFL, right? Matt Milano, Deion Jones, guys like that. But, you mentioned it. I mean, he's really quick. He could slip past those second level blocks with a combination of speed and that smaller size. He does a nice job using that size to his advantage when he's able to, avoid getting offensive linemen getting their hands on him, basically, like you said. So, and you're right. Yeah, I like the aggressiveness. He's got some power to his game. He could lay the shoulder into bigger players and still win despite his size, which is nice to see. Really nice footwork as well. Moves well, flowing to new gaps. He isn't perfect defending those gap scheme runs, but I don't see him getting lost in the motion or on those gap scheme, power counter runs as often as some NFL players like Patrick Queen. But and he's a sure tackler as well. The 5.2% missed tackle rate in 2022 is among the best in the class. So nice to see that from a guy that's new to the linebacker position as well. Negatives, obviously the size. You see him get pushed around by offensive linemen if he can't slip around them with his speed. Even tight ends will give him fits at the second level if they get hands on him. But this is an issue with pretty much every smaller size linebacker. It happens a lot. As good as he is at utilizing his speed to get past those blockers, there's a big sample size of plays where he's getting bullied and moved as well. As far as defending the pass, well, really effective blitzer. That same kind of slipperiness that helps him win as a run defender helps him win as a blitzer as well. He did turn 67 pass rush attempts into 18 pressures and 5 sacks this past season. Really good lateral movement as far as a coverage player goes. It comes in handy when picking up those crossers underneath in zone, for example, because it can stick with the receiver, not lose them, and then make up ground in a hurry with his speed. And that slippery nature of his comes into play all the time. I mean, there's a, I don't know if you watch South Park. There's a South Park episode where Cartman doesn't want to get vaccinated, and every time the needle comes out, he strips down and greases himself up like a pig and starts squealing and running around. I feel like nobody could get a hold of him. I feel like that's Henley in a way. I mean, he's not maybe as effective as Cartman in that situation, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. He's kind of avoiding those blocks a little bit, very slippery, and exactly like you said.
It's a great comp.
Yeah, Cartman, naked Cartman with
sitcom.
The negatives in pass defense. I mean, as much as I like that lateral movement that he has, his downfield movement isn't as strong. Not to say that he doesn't have a number of good-looking plays covering downfield, because he does, but for the most part, it's a clear area of needed improvement, in my opinion. Just leads to a fair amount of big plays allowed, and that shows when diving into the data as well, ranking with the third most yards allowed per coverage snap this past season. I think it was 1.14. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to like about Henley from what he put on tape in 2022 in his first year at Washington State, and ended up being really productive for them as a tackler. But there's some concerns about how he'll translate to the NFL. Obviously, size being the biggest issue, and well, it's not something that is going to take him off any team's draft board. You can see where it will be an issue in the NFL when it comes to taking on those blocks, but also has the speed and the quickness to avoid those blocks, like we've said. Former wide receiver as well, has that decent coverage ability. So I think he can turn into a very good linebacker in the NFL, even if it's just, specializing in coverage. So yeah, I know he's PFF's number 1 ranked linebacker. We'll see where we have him and how close we are to that. But there's definitely people that are higher on him and people that are going to be much lower on him as well. So any favorite landing spot for Henley that came to mind for you?
Yeah, I bounced around a few times trying to pick a spot for him, and the one I landed on was the Washington Commanders.
Nice.
Cole Holcomb, the Mullet King and friend of the show, he moved on to Pittsburgh. And Jamin Davis played better as the year went on. So I thought, maybe Jamin Davis could slip into the middle, and then Daiyan Henley could be Ron Rivera's new version of Thomas Davis, and he could play behind those 2 concrete trucks building the wall, and Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, and stay clean and make plays and run around and do cool stuff. So that was one that when I was bouncing around a couple of teams, I was like, man, I kind of like it. So I went with Washington, 2023 Thomas Davis, Daiyan Henley. So.
Nice, I like it. I think I have somebody else going to Washington as well. I can't remember exactly who, but I do have somebody. So I ended up going with the Patriots. I think pairing them with a bigger linebacker like a Jawan Bentley makes the most sense for me when it comes to utilizing kind of both players in key roles. And we know Bill likes to throw safeties into that second linebacker spot, but adding Henley to the mix just gives them another option there and a little bit more versatility to, a very versatile defense, basically. Although probably not ideal right away for IDP purposes. Can see him taking over maybe that top linebacker spot if and when Bentley moves on at the end of his contract, which is the end of this season. So I went New England. I wouldn't be thrilled about it for IDP purposes. I wrote up favorite landing spots for some of the top guys in IDP coming out, I think, tomorrow. I didn't go with New England for him in that one. So I picture him in a variety of places where he could be successful. Some of them are over time, some of them are right away, but I like the Washington call as well. All right, let's go on to DeMarvion Overshown from Texas.
Yeah. Overshown. Both. They both were.
Yes. All right. So for me, the positives for Overshown, in run defense, decent range. I think he does a nice job tracking runners out wide. So not just this kind of big thumper in the middle. He looks like the prototypical linebacker out there, especially defending the run. He has good length to stay square to the line of scrimmage. He's good on his feet, can stack and shed. And will thump running backs in the hole as well. The negatives, though, in run defense, I do want to see him pack on a little bit of beef. He's still pretty thin for his length and can get bullied at the second level. Ends up on his ass a ton as well. So probably some balancing issues there as well. But I think adding a bit more power and strength to his game can go a long way in fixing that issue. The missed tackles, though, are a big problem for me. He did clean it up a bit this year on his largest college workload. So that was nice to see, although 13.2% missed tackle rate, still not good. Over 20% missed tackle rate in every year prior to this last one. So still could be an issue in the NFL. For him as in coverage and in pass defense, he did a nice job as a blitzer, 23 pressures, 3 sacks on 89 attempts. But good awareness and recognition as well. Former safety, and I think his experience playing in coverage shows with a decent ability to diagnose pass plays. Fluid hips as well. It doesn't look robotic when having to turn upfield. That range, I think, shows a ton as well after going after those wide receiver screens and making plays around the line of scrimmage. But he does love diving at the ball too. Sometimes that works out for him and he makes some gorgeous pass breakups, but more often than not, he misses and is flat on his face as the receiver is running upfield. So that could be a problem. And then he does sink a little too low as well at times. Doesn't get great depth on his drops into zone to take away those passing lanes behind him. But I really liked his range. Definitely stood out as one of his greatest strengths. I didn't always love what he did when he got within range of making a tackle on a lot of plays with that high missed tackle rate. I'd really like to see him add more strength and thickness to his frame because he has the length. Just needs to get stronger and hold up against blockers, but could come at the cost of his speed. So hard to get too excited about him for me, but be curious what you think about him.
Yeah, a lot of the same thoughts. Like you say, he's got that athletic long build. Excellent speed and range. I thought, like you mentioned, he's a good blitzer. I thought he covers ground really quickly as a blitzer. Versatile dude. He played out on the edge a little bit and created a little havoc there. And like he's a physical tackler, like you said. And there was literally reps where he launched himself at the ball carrier, which leads to missed tackles, as you talked about. If he does key it, he can get it quickly too. Like you said, the dude, he's got range and he's got speed. And like you mentioned too, John, he's a former safety, so there is some coverage ability there, and there's something to work with, I think, in that area. He can turn and run, and he's got some length. I got the same weaknesses as you mentioned. You could use some bulk. He's got that lean frame. And then the biggest question with adding that bulk is, can he carry the weight and play with the same amount of juice? I think that's, if he were to put a little bit of weight on and he loses that juice or speed or range that he has, it's going to take away from his game because that's one of his biggest assets. Yeah. That there's times he struggled to get off blockers. He could kind of get washed out. And I thought there are some plays where his eyes were slow against the run, especially in zone coverage too. Like you said, he kind of doesn't gain great depth, and he kind of just, I called him, sometimes he looks like a landscaper just admiring and checking out the grass. He's just kind of hanging out. I mean, I love a great looking lawn and everything.
Sure.
But, shout out to my Husqvarna lawnmower. Does a great job. But I'm not exactly playing linebacker on that thing. So, but yeah, there's just times he's just kind of taking care of the grass out there. I'm not really sure what he's seeing, if he's just stuck or what. I guess we're shouting out lawnmowers now, but we're off the rails. But yeah, I thought there was times where when you see him, it was just some ups and downs. Cause like I said, if he sees it, he gets it in a hurry. And there's times where he doesn't see it and you're like, go get it, dude. Just like to see him develop a little more playing stacked up and in zone. So, but interesting guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I appreciate the lawnmower talk. And if Bobby's listening, you better believe he appreciates the mower talk.
Shout out Bob.
Bobby, what are your thoughts on the Husqvarna, whatever the model is?
Yes. Slide my DMs
off in the comments. Yeah. But as far as landing spots go for Overshown, so one that stood out to me that, could potentially be a good fit. I went with the Buffalo Bills. Just from the Bills' perspective, there could be a bit of risk with these two short kings, Bernard and Milano, uh, being every down starters. So you bring in a bit more size with Overshown, and maybe he can do what I mentioned earlier and pack on some of the pounds and round out that linebacker core a bit more, at least be an insurance piece if they're finding the lack of size and the second level is proven to be a liability. But yeah, Overshown could serve as a decent backup or sub package option there. Again, maybe not the most ideal landing spot if Terrell Bernard might lose reps, or he might lose reps to Bernard or whatever. Milano's not losing his job, but just saying that there is some risk there with starting these two smaller linebackers in Buffalo.
Yeah, I totally dig that. It's a really, really legit landing spot for sure. I went with the Minnesota Vikings. Nice. They got Brian Asamoah, who we're all looking to take that jump in year two, and Jordan Hicks restructured. He's got one more year on his deal. Mm-hmm. So they'll be a big part. And I thought, maybe Overshown could go to a team like that, learn a little bit, and Brian Flores could kind of get creative with them too and use them in different ways. Even if he comes in, like you said, as in pass rush packages mm-hmm. this year, and then he could, learn from a veteran linebacker and maybe if Hicks moves on, him and Asamoah could be a cool pairing, and Flores could find some nice packages for him. So
nice. Yeah, it's a good call. I have a Minnesota fit as well later on. This is good. We're thinking along the same lines here.
Yeah,
different players. All right, let's go to former defensive end. What did you think of Drew Sanders from Arkansas?
Yeah, Drew Sanders. What a fun player. Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, it's just a really nice combination of size and athleticism. 6'4", 235, just a big presence. He ran a 4.64 at his pro day. He didn't do much at the combine. He did some drill work and stuff, but didn't do much testing. 4.64 40 was solid for a dude of his size. 37-inch vert was nice too. Shows some explosiveness there. So I really like his pairing of size and athleticism. I thought he moves well for a big framed LB. I thought he worked on the line pretty fluidly for a dude his size. I really like that. As you said, he's a former edge guy, so he's versatile. He's got pass rush upside in his game along with his off-ball play. So, 103 tackles this year, but he had 13.5 tackles for loss and 9.5 sacks to go along with it. So the dude just made plays all over the field and behind the line, and you just love that. I thought there was some nice zone reps using his length to impede on passing lanes. You drop and just kind of get in the way. And I thought there was also some reps where he used his length to hold off blockers. I'd like to see him do it more, but you see the ability for him to see it, make first contact, turn the shoulder, get him off balance. I like that. And I think, the thing with Sanders is the ceiling is so appealing and intriguing because he was pretty damn impressive in his first year playing an off-ball role. So I think, just a guy that, how much better is it going to get? It's really, really exciting. And he's one of the guys that's getting, rumored to possibly go back into the first round, in the draft if we're going to see a linebacker. I've seen it in a few spots. Who knows? Maybe we don't get around one, but he's a name that's kind of in the mix that I've seen. I mean, mock drafts are mock drafts, but, love to see the IDP dudes get a little love in the first round, especially linebackers. Weaknesses, as I mentioned, he's only 1 year at off-ball LB. And he can be inconsistent with his reads and a bit over-aggressive. He had missed tackles, 22 missed tackles this year. You definitely want to clean that up. It makes sense being a first-year guy and being an aggressive dude. So, part of that is I'd like to see him, take some better angles in pursuit. And because I thought there was times where he'd pursue and he'd end up flat-footed, and he, once you're flat-footed, it's over. So he just kind of got to work on staying square and taking better angles because, man, those RBs are shifty, man. You give them an inch, they're gone. But yeah, so I think that kind of goes hand in hand with those missed tackles. And I liked some of the things he did in zone coverage, but I want to see if he consistently hold up in man coverage. I think the traits are there. It's just the sample size is small. So that's something you're going to want to see him develop and prove he can do at the next level. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. That's the thing. I mean, still learning the position, like very similar to Daiyan Henley as well. But So you see some of the, that kind of rawness to his game. And I mean, I don't want to start having flashbacks to the safety episode where I was bitching about missed tackles, but yeah, you're right. 22 missed tackles last year, just under 11% tackle efficiency and a 19.6% missed tackle rate always annoys me. So,
Not great.
Yeah, still learning the position. If he could have better technique when it comes to wrapping up, it shouldn't be too much of an issue for a guy with his strength, especially since he does a really nice job of getting himself into position to make those tackles in the first place. Because he's got great power, right? Great play strength, shows it off when he's bringing runners to the ground, drives them through the floor once he gets them wrapped up. And you could tell he used to be a defensive end. I think it was at Alabama. Has a nice swim move that he uses to get past blockers and puts himself in position to make a play. A lot of positives, I think, in his initial technique as a linebacker, like pre-snap reads and tracking the ball, which I think is a great sign of someone still very new to the position. In pass defense, I mean, you could immediately see the pass rush upside that made him a 5-star recruiter at a high school and land at Alabama. Definitely a threat off the edge, especially with that swim move. Got nearly 150 blitz attempts and posted 39 pressures and 11 sacks. So pretty unreal production there. But yeah, the negatives come, I think, more in coverage, right? I mean, he gets caught looking in the backfield a little too often, just looks lost out there with misdirection and play action. He just bites so hard on certain play fakes that take him way out of position. And he earned a decent coverage grade last year. I think it was 77 something, but he was only targeted 26 times. He allowed 21 receptions, no touchdowns. He had a couple pass breakups, but it's more what we're seeing when he isn't targeted and he's bouncing kind of all over the place, trying to figure out where he's supposed to be. And, there are times when he's even carrying guys out of his zone when he's supposed to just kind of sit there and ends up leaving a massive hole in the middle of the defense as well. So those things definitely stood out. But main thing, obviously, is he brings, a ton of that pass rush upside. Feels like he'll get that utilization for the most part in the NFL, not unlike a Zaven Collins or Devin White or Jerome Baker, those type of guys. Probably not ideal for IDP unless he's converting those attempts at a high rate, which he did in college, but sack rate is especially unstable going from college to the NFL. So there are things to like about his ability to defend the run, but there could be a bit of a liability in coverage, I think. But you're right. The upside and what he showed just in his first year in an off-ball position is what you really love about the guy and the potential to be a stud linebacker. So there's definitely potential there. He's one of the more exciting players in this class for sure. And yeah, if he gets a first-round draft capital, that would be huge. But did you have a favorite landing spot for Sanders?
So there's a Tremaine Edmonds size hole in Buffalo, and Drew Sanders at pick 27 would be pretty cool just to see a linebacker go around one. So I picked Buffalo for Drew Sanders. It would be an interesting fit. It'd be the death blow to Terrell Bernard, unfortunately. Like you talked about pairing a bigger LB with Milano. That was kind of what I was thinking with Drew Sanders, because I think he profiles similarly to Edmonds as far as size, some of the similar traits and stuff. I mean, Edmonds was more developed coming out of Virginia Tech, but they both made plays behind the line in college, and they're longer, bigger LB. So I'm just trying to will a linebacker to go in the first round here somehow. Just for us IDP guys, just to get a little bit of something. So
yeah. Hopefully there's one, because we're gonna do the live draft stream, and I know we're gonna want to talk about linebackers, and there's a few decent spots. So yeah, man, if he can go to Buffalo, that would obviously be a big one. And as excited as we are about Terrell Bernard, it's not like people are investing too much into him. I mean, maybe, this offseason, if you're spending to buy him or something like that. But initially for dynasty rosters, you weren't spending much to get him on your roster as a rookie. So there's definitely worst case scenarios out there for IDP. But I like the Buffalo spot for sure. I went with the Detroit Lions. Nice. I mean, somebody was going here. It was inevitable that we weren't going to leave the Prince of Asgard, Alex Anzalone, as the LB1 in Detroit. I mean, enough of that shit. We're all fed up with it. Let's move on. The guy had 90 blitz attempts last year and was just all around mid. So Sanders, as much as he's still a project, is clearly a more exciting prospect and linebacker, and would be the perfect fit in that Lions defense. Even with the coverage issue, they don't seem to care too much about about that anyway, since they've installed Mid-Zaloni there for 2 years. Feels like 100 years, but I'd be very happy to see Drew Sanders. I might be happy to see any of these linebackers that we talk about tonight go into Detroit, or at least most of them, because there's got to be a changing of the guard over there.
Yeah, enough's enough, man. I got somebody going to Detroit here too that's gonna
Nice.
end that problem for us, hopefully.
Good.
One of these guys.
Let's just keep willing it into existence, man. It's got to happen.
It has to.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to our next guy on the list here, Dorian Williams from Tulane. I'm starting, right? So for Dorian Williams, the thing that stood out to me, at least in run defense, very methodical run defender, stays square to the line of scrimmage. He's patient before attacking. Could definitely work against him as well, because gives O-line, time to get to the second level and get hands on him. But he has really good footwork and lateral movement, so he can get out there in a hurry once he finally decides when to attack. The negatives is there's not a ton of plays at or behind the line of scrimmage. That seems to come from, that lack of aggressiveness, or maybe it's a lack of trusting his own instincts. So he's a little slower to get there than some of these other small linebackers who are quick to their gap and make plays closer to the line of scrimmage. And again, that slower, more methodical run defense strategy just lets blockers or the pile get to him before he's really moving his feet in the right direction. So gets taken out of the play a lot. Constantly getting bodied at the second level. But in pass defense, I felt like he was much more instinctive in coverage than he is in run defense. He does a nice job diagnosing the passing lanes and eliminating them. Can stick in coverage as well. Looks pretty good out there chasing downfield. Was able to stay with a lot of wide receivers as well. Only allowed an NFL passer rating of 67.1 when targeted, and earned an 87.0 coverage grade last year. So really impressive numbers from Williams. He was a big part of that Tulane defense. And another guy that brings decent pass rush upside as well. 95 blitz attempts, 22 pressures, 6 sacks last year. So to me, the main thing that stands out when watching him is just kind of how methodical he is, and really seems to lack aggression in the run game. As a smaller linebacker, I'd like to see him be a little more proactive versus reactive when playing the run, so that he doesn't get swallowed up by those second level blockers. He showed decent instincts in coverage, so adding that to his game as a run defender will really help his case as a potential every down linebacker in the NFL. But I don't think he's quite there just yet.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I have a lot of the same notes here. For as far as the strengths, good athlete, speed, agility. The dude can cover ground. He moves well. Pretty good length for a smaller guy, 261, 228. I thought, the effort and length were there with him. I liked his range. And like you said, his coverage ability. I thought there's a lot of upside with his coverage chops. Some nice zone reps. That awesome clip you showed was him making a nice play there. And then I thought there was there was a couple of plays I charted him picking up backs out of the backfield, leaking out pretty fluidly. Always love that. And he had really nice production during his career at Tulane, starting out as a sophomore. So you always like to see that guy getting on the field right away. And he capped it off with 132 tackles as a senior this year, which it's a really nice finish. So a guy who's been productive, throughout his whole career at Tulane. The weaknesses, he struggles taking on blockers. He can get stuck and driven out because he is methodical. And he doesn't always read as quickly as you'd like, and he's a little bit hesitant. As like you said, he's methodical. That's just why I had charted some hesitant reps as well. Instincts, a little hit and miss. And then playing at Tulane, you get the small school knock, right? You always say, well, it's just Tulane, but the other thing is he did have 17 tackles against USC in the Cotton Bowl, so he showed up in the big game. And small school dudes, I always kind of feel like, you can only play where you can play. Not everybody gets the call from Georgia, Alabama, and LSU and the big dogs. So, if these small school guys go to whoever calls them up and ball out, that's all you can really ask for. So, and I think Williams is a dude with a lot of potential if he can, get a little bit more, like you said, proactive, and hopefully, an NFL defensive coaching staff can get him just going downhill a little bit more and not waiting to see it develop, just making it develop and making it happen. Right. So,
yeah, no, you're right. I like that call too about, the small school thing not being that big of a knock either, right? Because a lot of these guys too, some of them want to just play closer to home, right?
Right.
They don't necessarily want to, be that far from home and stuff like that. So it's their own decision to play at these smaller schools too, right? So, You're absolutely right. It shouldn't be too big of a knock on him. I know, the competition level isn't as high in those,
Mhm.
conferences, but for the player himself, you try to isolate the player as much as you
Yeah.
can, and there's a lot to like about his game. Um, as far as landing spots, so I went with the Tennessee Titans. Doesn't have to be a full-time role right out the gate. I think you could still let Aziz Al-Shir be that guy for Tennessee and, in their dime heavy scheme. But if they want to have two guys out there on passing downs more often, then he can give them an additional option there at linebacker, because there really isn't that option for them right now. So I think he'd fit in over there. I'm not, completely sold on Monty Rice
Mhm.
or anybody else that they have in that linebacker core. So I could kind of see him kind of being that more part-time LB2, at least to start his career for Tennessee.
I like that spot a lot. I kind of had similar ideas too. I picked the Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm.
Um, we all like Divine Diablo, one of the
Yeah.
coolest names in all of the land.
Yeah.
Just need the fighting chicken Divine Diablo to stay healthy.
That's right.
And they brought in Robert Splain, you know, veteran dude, whatever. So, he'll be there, and Dorian Williams would be a nice addition to give him a little boost. I know
Mhm.
Luke Masterson stepped up there last year as an undrafted guy. He was kind of forced in there, did okay, right? But I
Right.
think Williams, like you said, he's got a lot to offer in coverage too, and it kind of
Mhm.
fits today's modern game. So him and Diablo would be a kind of a cool
That'd be
pairing.
fun.
So kind of if they want to roll with this two LB looks, the two guys that can really cover some ground and make some plays, I thought that'd be kind of neat. So
Yeah, I like that. That would be a fun combo for sure.
right on.
Diablo and Dorian. Like it. All right, let's go to bigger school,
Yeah,
Alabama. uh, Henry To'o. I
I'm
think that's
happy.
right.
I'm happy you took that on for me. So,
Okay, no problem.
um, yeah. So 2-0, Henry 2-0 out of Alabama. Yeah, he's a pretty athletic LB, I thought, with sufficient speed. He moves pretty fluidly out there. Experienced player. He's been productive at two big time schools. He started his career at Tennessee. I believe he had like 70 tackles right away as a freshman. He was involved right away. And then finished off at Alabama. I think he had like just over 200 career tackles in 2 years at Alabama. So,
Mhm.
he's been productive both stops there in big time places. In coverage, there was some reps where he was able to pick up the backs, leaking backs on the backfield and run with them. And in times, I thought he gained some decent depth in zone. Overall, I thought he was a pretty smart player instinctively. And, the success of the two big time SEC programs definitely doesn't hurt. So you always like that. Weaknesses, his build's a bit lean, and I thought it shows up when he takes on blocks. He can just get driven right back. He misses more tackles than he would like for a guy of his experience. I think his missed tackle rate was 14 or 15% roughly for his career, something like that. He's been a productive tackler over his career. Like I said, Tennessee, Alabama, both stops, but he's not a real big hitter.
No.
He doesn't have a ton of power in his game. And I thought there was a lot of times too he was just fooled by misdirection, and there's times where he just takes the bait and stalls. And for a guy that's as experienced he is, I kind of consistently saw that more than I wanted to. So,
Yeah.
but experienced dude. I think he's developed to he is what he is type of player.
Right.
Overall. So I don't know. What did you think of 2-0, 2-0,
Yeah.
2-0?
Yeah. Whatever it is, like 2-2. But man, yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's some positives to his game that you like. He stays square to the line of scrimmage. Does a nice job kind of strafing across the line and tracking down the running back. Keeps his feet moving, which
Yep.
always has him in position to make a play, which is nice. The play I have on the YouTube right now, it's not necessarily the most impressive play, but I think it's a really nice example of how he keeps his feet
It is.
active in the open field so he can break when the running back makes his cut. And that footwork also allows him to get around blockers at the second level when it's successful. Moves like a gazelle, plays on his toes, and takes off with a very
Mhm.
smooth quickness. The only problem is where that gazelle-like movement can work against him is as he can sometimes get a little too light on his toes, where he's bouncing himself right out of the play. There's a few instances where he's jumped way out of his gap or tried to jump around a blocker at the second level and overshot it so much that he's not in position to make a play anymore. The other issue with playing like a gazelle is that once the gazelle ends up in the clutches of a lion, it's pretty much SOL, right? Uh, like you said, the Lions in this case are definitely the offensive linemen working to the second level
Yep.
because, yeah, when they get hands on him, they move him out of the way fairly easily, and he just can't shed those
Mhm.
big guys once they get a hold of him. Uh, Positives in pass defense. He covers ground quickly in coverage, shows off his range quite a bit, and he's able to make some tackles outside the numbers fairly often. He's an okay blitzer, over 90 pass rush attempts in each of the last 2 seasons, managed 27 pressures and 6 sacks. So, not elite numbers for a 2-year span, but he's fine, and it gives him an opportunity to show off a bit more speed in his game as well. The negatives, getting lost in zone coverage is a big issue. It just happens too often as a
Mm.
2-year starter. He
Yep.
lets receivers get behind him all the time in zone. He takes poor angles and more issues with missed tackles in the open field, like you said. So, yeah, seeing all the same kind of negatives that you mentioned as well. So yeah, there's definitely some positive areas of his game. Obviously, being a 2-year starter and play caller for Alabama's defense is a big one. But just like in-game type stuff, he did a
Mhm.
nice job, using his speed and quickness to make plays, but ultimately struggles with play strength and in coverage, which are huge for NFL success. So I'm tempering expectations quite a bit for this Alabama linebacker's potential at the second level. Not to say that he won't get there, but I think there's a lot to improve upon as well.
Yeah, totally agree, man.
Yeah. How about I'll say my landing spot here because you just talked about it too. I went with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh,
So the
nice.
same, yeah. So again, we're doing the same places but different ideas on players. So I'm not expecting him to start right away. I don't think it's the worst spot to eventually emerge with a bigger role. Playing behind Divine Diablo and probably even Robert Spillane as a rookie, but we'll get some reps at a defense that doesn't ask him to play extraordinary amounts of zone coverage. He'll get some blitz opportunities, also closer to a league average rate, and not have to do it too much since he's just kind of okay at it. So I had a tougher time finding a spot
Yeah,
for To'o, but I'd feel okay about him in Vegas for IDP.
I like that. I was the same way, man. I kind of struggled to figure out where to put him. I ended up
Yeah.
putting him with the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, nice.
Their linebacker room, it's Ernest Jones and bunch of
That's it.
dudes. Yeah, a bunch of dudes getting a fish fry at the bar on Friday night or whatever. Just I don't know who they are, but yeah. So I just picked the Rams. He could be like a day 3 pick. It ended up being a complimentary pick to Ernest Jones, and I like the fact I don't think he'd be a big threat to Ernest Jones. We
No.
want that big year 3 leap out of him.
Oh
So,
yeah.
but yeah, that was kind of they could use something, and if they want to spend like a day 3 pick on an experienced player that you kind of know what he is at this point. He could be a complimentary guy to Jones there, maybe. So
Yeah.
not, overly exciting spot or anything, but
No, it makes sense though. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for opportunity, there's not maybe a more depleted defense in the entire NFL than the
right.
Rams. It's crazy, man. I was looking at their depth chart today. Like safety is just a shit show. I mean,
Yeah.
Jordan Fuller's the only guy I think that's ever started in the NFL. They got 3 guys who have played
Yeah.
like a total of 250 snaps in the NFL. It's nuts. So yeah,
It's brutal.
there's opportunity there, especially for like a more experienced guy like To'o. Like he could pretty much move up that depth chart against
Yeah.
Jake Gervais or whoever the hell is over there at linebacker behind
Right.
Ernest Jones. But yeah, let's move on to Ivan Pace Jr. Out of Cincinnati. So we'll talk about some of his run defense positives here. I mean, to me, he plays like a ghost. The way that he beats blockers is
Mm.
by kind of phasing through them as if he's made of air. And you look at his mock draftable chart. I'll pull it up now. That doesn't have any of his athletic testing on it. You'd think he was a ghost.
Fantastic.
Yeah, um, but yeah, just glides around the second level as if he were floating. Just such a smooth player on the
Mm.
move. He shows off some great agility and making plays that bigger, heavy linebackers just aren't going to make. Really smart as well. Understands his gaps and assignments. Rarely gets caught out of position due to his own mistakes. Just great range and speed. He can get wide from his middle linebacker spot in a hurry, and he does a great job sorting through traffic and not losing ground so that he can close in a hurry. The negatives. Finishing is an area that he could work on as a smaller player. You can see the size be an issue when he's trying to wrap up bigger backs. He slides off them a little too often, and 33 missed tackles over the last 2 seasons across 2 conferences is far from ideal. So he's just not stacking and shedding like you like from your middle linebackers. It doesn't seem to really matter if it's an offensive lineman or a tight end. If they get hits on him at the second level, they're almost always kind of sealing him off or moving him out of his gap. He just doesn't have that size or strength to get out of it just yet. So it's going to be a consistent knock on him, and it's probably why he'll slide in the draft as well. But yeah, positives in pass defense. I mean, first off, the dude can blitz. Cincinnati recognized that from his time at Miami of Ohio, because when he was given the opportunity there over 3 seasons, he converted 12 sacks and 45 pressures. This past year, they gave him 180 blitz attempts that resulted in 55 pressures, 12 sacks, and 18 QB hits. Just unreal production there. And that ghost-like phasing that he does, avoiding blocks at the second level, definitely works when he's on the attack as well in order to get into the backfield. So really great feel for how and when to attack, setting up offensive linemen so that he has the advantage as a pass rusher. The negatives in pass defense, not really tested all that much in coverage. He played very close to the line of scrimmage in 2022. So a lot of the targets he's faced were screens and underneath routes. I think he was targeted just 14 times last year. Didn't really have to carry running backs too often downfield or hang with tight ends up the seam because of how the Bearcats utilized him. But because he's so used to playing with eyes in the backfield as well, there are a few instances where he doesn't even notice his man get behind him. But you know, he can handle himself in coverage. If you watch some of his Miami, Ohio tape from 2021, he was able to drop a bit deeper in zone and pick up crossers or carry a little more and earn the best coverage grade of his career as well, 82.7 on 26 targets. So there's definitely evidence that he could be a solid coverage player. Just wasn't asked to do it a lot this past year, but man, I love what Pace brings to the table outside of his size, obviously, but he does a fantastic job making up for that by being a smart, disciplined, and quick linebacker who is consistently good at getting a position to make a play before blockers can get a handle on him. His blitzing abilities are top notch, and a team that likes to utilize their linebackers in that role is going to be excited about him. I think I would absolutely spend a day 2 pick on him. I get he doesn't have ideal NFL size, but for me, he plays the run so well and is so quick to get around blockers that he'll make more plays than he won't, especially if he cleans up the missed tackles.
Yeah, I love Ivan Pace, man. I thought, like, before the show we were talking, and I thought his tape was the most fun to watch of all these guys. Just a blast. Yeah, he's a aggressive player. That's his style. The dude's aggressive and he packs a punch. You know, he's got that hesitation move and he gets you. Just got, you know, like he crosses your face and he's got bursts to explode to make the play. Just got this this juice when he sees it and gets past you, it's over. Just a blast to watch. He's a tenacious blitzer. Gets downhill in a hurry. Instinctually, I thought he was just rock solid to go along with that burst. Like I said, when he crosses your face and he puts himself in the right position to make the play. I loved it. I thought he could be crafty navigating traffic and slipping blocks. And just the production. I mean, his last year at Miami of Ohio, as you talked about, 125 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. And then this year at Cincinnati, a little bit, you know, not power 5, but big step even from the MAC to Cincinnati. 136 tackles, 20 and a half tackles for loss and 9 sacks. Just insane, right? I mean,
basic.
Just insane. Just a blast to watch at both schools there. Like you mentioned, his Miami of Ohio tape was really good too in 2021. Biggest knock, that stout compact build, right? Just doesn't hit the height and length thresholds. And it comes up, you know, he lacks that length and the blockers can get into him because he just, you know, doesn't have the arms to hold him off. Like any aggressive player, there's times you can overrun his fit and get out of position. You're just going to have that with aggressive dudes. It's part of the deal. And, you know, coverage, like you mentioned, you know, there's some promise in zone he's shown, but, you know, man coverage, I think, is going to be an issue. We haven't seen a lot of it, and, you know, he's not necessarily going to match up with tight ends very well. I don't think you're going to ask him to do that. And, you know, I'd like to see if he could turn and run with backs too. But, you know, overall, just a really fun player, aggressive. like you said, John, he's got this stout, compact build, but he makes up for it with his instincts and aggressiveness and that burst. I mean, it's just wild. He just his start and stop, that hesitation move he's got. It's like he's crossing you over in basketball when you're coming at him, and he's gone in a hurry. It's just the dude's an absolute blast to watch. I'd love to see him go day 2 as well, and just see him be the outlier with that size. His play style is just awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, I said it before we started recording too. I think if it wasn't for the size, you could make a case that he'd be the best linebacker
for sure
in this class. He'd be up there. He's just so instinctive. He's so good at defending the run. And yeah, if we get more of a sample size of him, defending the pass and in coverage, I think there's a ton to like about his game. But yeah, hopefully day 2. I mean, it feels more likely it'll be probably early day 3, somewhere around there.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, but where did you think about landing spot? Where did you have him going?
Another one I bounced around with spots. I landed on the New York Giants with old Wink Martindale. Aggressive player with an aggressive dude. And maybe I think he would be one that would see the player for what he is and use him accordingly. And he'd be a nice pairing with Bobby Okereke, who they just gave the bag to. So I bounced around a bit, but I sent him to old Wink and let him put him to work. So how about you?
Yeah, no, something similar. Actually, I went with the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
I know we're all excited about the idea of Brian Asamoah getting a full-time role, but I think, what Pace does fits Brian Flores' scheme so much better than Asamoah, because he has so much experience playing up near the line of scrimmage and blitzing that he'd be a perfect fit for that defense, while Jordan Hicks or maybe Asamoah play behind him a bit more. 87th pick in the draft. That's near the end of the 3rd round. That's where I want to see him go. Minnesota. I'd be pretty excited about him there. He'd be, might be a little bit more boom bust for IDP in that scheme, but just to see the guy get the playing time and be able to pull out the moves that made him such an exciting player last year, I'd be very happy with that.
I love that. That's legit.
Nice. All right, let's go to Iowa, Mr. Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell, man. Big dude, big frame guy, big strong linebacker, 6'5", 249. He tested really well at the combine for a linebacker this size. I was hoping he would run in the mid 4.6s as an experienced instinctual linebacker. Dude, his size, mid 4.6 would be it's a good pairing. I thought he hit it. He ran a 4.65 with a 1.59 10-yard split, and then he went above and beyond hitting that and just a 37.5-inch vert and a 10.8 rod. I mean, that's really, really good explosive numbers I did not expect that at all, to be honest. He's just your classic lunch pail Iowa linebacker. He's got like a ham and cheese sandwich, a bag of classic Lay's, and a Mountain Dew, showing up for work. Just a sound tackler, a high motor, high effort guy, just what you expect out of a Iowa LB. Tackle machine, 265 tackles over his past 2 seasons. Just love it. Experienced player. I thought the experience shows in his processing. He knows what he's looking at out there. Thought he has a nice feel in zone coverage. He uses his big frame and arms. He had some nice production and coverage, 7 passes defended and 4 interceptions over his past 2 seasons. So it's nice to see the tackles paired with a little bit of ball production. Gives you, and then you pair that with the surprising combine. I was surprised that, I don't know if everybody was, but it's some of the testing numbers, but I think it's a really nice pairing of all 3 of those things coming together. The weaknesses, I thought there was a little bit of stiffness in his lower body at times. He ran this crazy 6.74 3-cone at the combine. I just didn't always see that short area movement out of him. I love that he did that. That sub 7 and 6.74 is just awesome. It's a really good time. But I just thought sometimes when he turned and went or stopped and went, there was a little bit of stiffness. It's kind of nitpicking, I really thought there, but that 3-cone really opened my eyes and I had to go rewatch. But I thought there was a few reps where he was just, really got a little bit overzealous, pursuing the ball and lost his angle. But overall, he does a good job staying square. But any aggressive dude's gonna, every once in a while, kind of just see the ball and want to get it and kind of lose your responsibility a little bit. But I mean, I thought it was kind of more nitpicking than anything. Just, sure. But one of the biggest things was I thought he could really improve his block shedding. There are some good reps, but for a guy his size, I guess it just seemed a little inconsistent with his hands. I thought he could really up his hand game for a guy his size and with his strength. I think there's more there as far as his stacking and shedding ability. You see it,
Okay.
but I just thought like he could be. I mean, he could really up that part of his game. I mean, it wasn't like a total knock. It's just,
Hmm.
I thought there was reps where I saw him do it really well. And there was times where I was like, man, I just a little bit better hand technique there. And he's making that play, or,
Right.
he's going to make first contact, turn the shoulders, get out of the, shed the guy out of the way and make the play. Just a few times, but I think that's, again, probably more nitpicking and something that they're definitely going to work on. But yeah, a lot of the, with this LB class we talked about, it's kind of a different class, we're a little bit worried
Hmm.
about, but I know what Jack Campbell is, and I like that a
Right.
lot. That,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
he's a lunch pail dude, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's a good way to describe him. I mean, he is exactly, what you picture in a prototypical linebacker, right? You think of you picture a good linebacker, you picture a big, strong, kind
Yeah.
of gap sound, instinctive player who
Yep.
can stack and shed, wrap up on his tackles, and make plays at or behind the line of scrimmage. And that's kind of what Jack Campbell looks like when you turn on the
Mhm.
Iowa tape. Um, I thought he flowed really well to the correct gaps when needed. You can tell he's a very prepared and smart player making those kinds of reads. He isn't overly aggressive, which can often, put guys out of position as much as it can create. That's what I found. Is I know you mentioned kind of the aggressiveness. I felt he wasn't as aggressive as he could be, so we're kind of on a little bit different there. But as much as it can create tackles for loss, so while he might start to add that to his game in the NFL, he gets a little bit more comfortable over the years. Right now, he's just kind of a locked-in player. The way I
Mhm.
saw him before and after the snap, he's always in the right position and makes more than enough plays to not have to worry about production concerns, kind of things like that. So, really nice lateral movement to mirror the play as it develops. Just a lot to like about his game as a run defender right now when it comes to
Yeah.
translating to the NFL and making an IDP impact right out of the gate. Shows off good play strength. I thought he did a decent job getting off blocks at the second level, although still not the most consistent there. Like you said, he can definitely get moved by offensive linemen, like most linebackers do.
Yeah.
So
It's
he's
tough.
not like he's immune to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just felt he was better at it than most of the guys in this class, anyways. But yeah, man, good movement ability and range. He might not have elite speed, but relative to his size,
Yeah.
very quick, and the way he moves so seamlessly just makes him that much quicker. Can read the pass, read the run, and still drop in his zone. He's not letting his receiver get too far behind him. The most obvious example of this is the pick he had against CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Just an unreal play. It shows off so much about what
Such a
makes
good
him like
play.
an NFL caliber linebacker
Yeah.
in one play. For those who maybe aren't watching it on YouTube, but cautiously reads the play action. He's lined up in his appropriate gap, but then once he sees the fake, just drops perfectly to the spot while mirroring the quarterback and makes an incredibly athletic play on a pass that was going over and behind him, to come down with what was essentially a one-handed interception. So,
Unreal.
yeah, just really good stuff from him. Negatives in pass defense, essentially, he's everything you want like a zone linebacker to be, but
Mhm.
probably not ideal to put in single coverage and leave him kind of one-on-one with speedy running backs or tight ends downfield. Just much better with his eyes on the quarterback and keeping the play in front of him. He moves much better within his zone scheme instead of having to turn and chase, just like you said, which is most linebackers, to be fair. But that's where you're really getting the most of him in my opinion. So there wasn't much that I disliked about
Yeah.
Campbell. I mean, super athletic, ideal size, excellent run defender, solid missed tackle rate of just 9% through
Yeah.
4 years. Not a liability in coverage, shows off excellent range. Kind of smitten, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if it's just this
I'm
class, but like you said,
Yeah.
you kind of know what you're getting. You know
Yeah.
how exactly he'll translate to IDP, and you kind of like that about him.
Yeah, and that's like, I'm totally with you, man. I was smitten with him too, and it felt like I was kind of nitpicking with
Right.
my weaknesses. The one thing I kind of messed up my note. I couldn't tell if he was overzealous or if he was just stuck ball watching. Like you had mentioned, he was more, not as aggressive at times. I think that's a better way to portray kind of what you see every once in a while.
Okay.
I like that call a lot. Yeah, that's more in line, I think, with to describe maybe a knock. I think you nailed it there. But yeah, dude, I felt like I was nitpicking a lot because he just,
He's
he
really
fit
good.
he fits the position, right?
Yeah, he does. And man, I would love to see him go to the Texans. I think D'Amico Ryans would love him as his LB1, especially, over the Perrimans or Harris and Kirksies of the world, who are kind of the
Yeah.
definition of mid. Campbell could absolutely thrive with Ryan's zone heavy defense and be an absolute stud for fantasy purposes. That would be ideal spot for me.
I love that.
Yeah. How about you?
This is the guy I had getting rid of, Mr. King of Asgard mids alone.
Yes.
I sent Jack Campbell to Detroit to just get Anzalone the hell out of there and make this work for us in IDP land. And I think he's just there to bite kneecaps and
Right.
tackle and get Anzalone the hell out of there. But yeah, that was my Detroit guy.
that would be amazing. Yeah, because that would absolutely be the nail in the coffin for Anzalone there if it's Jack Campbell going to Detroit. Jack Campbell. Him and Dan Campbell. They would get along just fine.
I didn't even Campbell, man.
Yeah, I do. Man, he'd adopt him as his son for sure.
I love it, man. I do like that Houston call as well. That would be money.
Yeah, that would be so nice. But we could dream. We're
a
week away to find out what exactly happens. But oh man. How about okay, so let's go to Oregon. I got Noah Sewell up next. So Noah Sewell, good strength. He does a nice job being around the ball. Gap sound player, understands his role. He plays it well. The negatives to me, I think he loses the play a little too often. He gets distracted easily. It seems most linebackers you'll see keep their eyes on the running back when they're getting blocked at the second level. But a few times I noticed with Sewell is he's looking more at the blocker first, even before they get hands on him, and it just throws him off completely after that. He's had times where he's really late to react as well, putting him behind the 8 ball. So a little bit of concern there. I thought he, in pass coverage or pass defense had a chance to show off a bit more as a blitzer. He's explosive. He's a relentless pass rusher. Had a few instances where he flew off the line so quickly and caught offensive linemen off guard, rocking them and winning with strength as well as quickness. Oregon utilized them there quite a bit with over 90 attempts in each of the past 2 seasons, which led to 52 pressures and 6 sacks. Oh my God, buddy, mix in a water, slurring your words. Decent closing speed and coverage as well. He has to use it quite a bit because he isn't necessarily in tight coverage all that often, but does do a solid job flying downhill to try and make up for that as often as he can. And that's kind of my issue with him in coverage. He just ends up out of position so often and outside of closing on guys underneath of him. He doesn't possess the movement ability to recover anywhere else on the field. So more of a liability than an asset, I felt. For me, Noah Sewell, he's very similar to how Glosser and I felt about Ronnie Hickman, the Ohio State safety last episode. Just kind of disappointing all around, in my opinion. He does some stuff fine, but nothing great. Progression in 3 years at Oregon is minimal at best, which you don't love from a former 5-star recruit, especially considering his arguably worst season was his most recent one. So just overall disappointing, including down to his name being Penny's younger brother. I would prefer, he be named Rigatoni Sewell. So he just continues to let me down. That's a little pasta joke out there for the people. What were your thoughts on Noah Sewell?
Yeah, I kind of had the disappointed dad vibe too. Like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed, man.
Right.
It's just kind of how I felt about it. He's a big dude. He moves pretty well for a guy of his size when he's navigating the box. He's strong. He's got powerful hands when he takes on blocks. He gets downhill and sticks for sure. And like you said, there's just a little bit there with him as a pass rusher. There was a couple of plays. He had a really nice spin move. It was really quick for a guy his size, man. It was really cool. He flashed good instincts at times when he sees, and that's part of his getting downhill and sticking in the box and filling his gap. But overall, he excels in the weaknesses. He excels in the box, but he doesn't have true sideline to sideline range. And that tackle production drop off in 2022, 56 tackles in 12 games. He had 114 in 2021. It's not great at all. And then, in 2021, he played almost 900 snaps and had an 18% missed tackle rate. Not great at all. I thought his eyes could be a little consistent with misdirection, and he's not a turn and run type of LB, and I definitely have reservations about him holding up in man coverage. So just not mad about it, just a little disappointed. That's all.
Absolutely. That's the exact way I felt watching his tape. So. And this is crazy because we keep having similar landing spots, but we just can't line up the guys at the right thing. So I had the New York Giants for him.
Okay.
He's not overtaking Bobby O, obviously, but might have a shot to move up the depth chart behind Okereke and may be useful for IDP.
Yeah.
Might not be a full-time role either in Wings defense, but there are parts of his game, specifically as a blitzer, like you said, that could translate to that defense and earn him more meaningful snaps for IDP while he hopefully develops into a more complete player. How about you?
Yeah, I dig that spot for Sewell. I picked the New England Patriots. You had somebody go on the Patriots earlier. Right. I mean, he's got that 6'1", 250 build that the Patriots love. And like you said, Bentley's in the last year, and Sewell just looks like a Patriot to me. So, right. And Patriots aren't fun to roster in IDP. So,
he'll continue to disappoint us.
The theme continues.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, let's go to Owen Pappoe from Auburn. What did you think of him?
Owen Pappoe. This is a linebacker with legit speed and range. I mean, he ran a 4.39 40, paced all the linebackers at the combine, a 1.50 flat 10-yard split. I mean, just sheesh. That is fast. Unreal. He's an experienced player who was involved right away at Auburn, coming in as a 5-star freshman. You always like it when they come in and they're involved right away at a big program like that. He's a smaller LB at 6 foot, 225. I thought he had, decent length for a guy his size, and strength wise, he's 6'5", 225. He put 29 bench reps up at the combine, which is nice. Nice to see. Like I said, he's got a little bit of length. He's got a nice tackle radius, and with that length and that strength that he has, he does have the ability to make first contact with blockers when he can. So there's a little bit there for a smaller linebacker. Overall, pretty sound tackler. He doesn't miss too many. If you look at his track record there, I thought there was some zone reps where he gained depth and gotten passing lanes. There's a few of those things I charted. Weaknesses: he's got a leaner, lankier build. He needs some bulk. Thought he struggled to disengage from blockers consistently. It's just typical of the smaller linebacker we've talked about. I thought he could be late with his eyes. We just would like to see him read and react quicker at times, especially with that explosiveness he has. You just want to see him pick it up, read it, react, and go, because he can get there so damn fast. And he can close in a hurry. He's a good tackler. But it's just times you're just wanting more, with what he has. And overall, doesn't quite have the processing chops that you'd like of a player with his experience. I thought just his eyes just didn't quite catch up with his speed and explosiveness.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very similar again. I mean, all the things that you mentioned, he's a smaller linebacker, but decent power to his game. Like you said, the 29 bench reps at the combine, 92nd percentile among linebackers. You love to see something like that. And I think when his feet are set and he's taken on a block at the second level, that's where you get to see it a little bit more. It's when his feet are moving and he gets grabbed, it's a completely different story. And so, there is some power there. He shows it off in making tackles as well, and some big hits, but definitely some inconsistency there, I guess, is a way to put it. So, but again, if his feet are moving, he's facing a block against an offensive lineman, they're pretty much moving him out of the way every time. For me, he's just the guy that needs his feet set and ready to put his body into it for that strength to really come out, which is still more than a lot of players his size, but it's just not enough to elevate him too much in this class. I did find he sinks a little too much as well, gets really close to the line of scrimmage, which can work to his advantage, but it could also take him way out of the play at the same time because he won't be able to maintain a proper angle to chase down a runner who breaks through. in pass defense, you see some of his athleticism in coverage. I thought he showed off pretty good speed and range.
Mhm.
The negatives, like you said, it's just I think a lack of instincts in zone,
Yeah.
to not be a liability more often than not right now. Still a lot of work to do in that regard. So, not that being an undersized linebacker is a massive detriment to playing time in the NFL, because there, like we said, there are guys who do it and
Mhm.
could do it even in this class, but there just too many instances I thought where that size works against him, even as a
Mhm.
stronger player, just gets moved off his spot a little too often. That sinking or falling for play fakes is a big one for me as well,
Mhm.
because it just hurts him in the run game, and especially in coverage, letting the play get behind him. So um, I struggled with kind of where to put him uh, as far as NFL fits go.
Yeah.
Uh, I went with the Chargers. I mean, I really
Okay.
have no idea how the NFL is going to value him, but
Yeah.
there are at least some NFL level traits that teams might covet, speed, strength, but I don't think there's an ideal spot for him to come in and take over as a starter right away. He's just going to take some time. And I think Staley might find some use for him in sub packages along with a kind of similarly athletic player like Kenneth Murray for when Murray maybe isn't available. There's
Mhm.
not a huge drop off there, and a lower cost as well, because he's probably going day 3.
Yeah, no, I like that spot. I kind of had the same idea as far as a day 3 dart throw for a team, and I picked the New York Jets.
Nice. Yeah.
They signed Quincy Williams with a 3-year deal, bringing him back after a nice productive year. CJ Mosley's getting up there. I was kind of like trying to find a spot for him, and I was like, there's a team with a veteran like CJ Mosley. Robert Saleh is a defensive minded coach. Maybe he could take this guy and figure out what how to get him to progress a little bit and use the tools he has, and he could be a depth guy, special teamer. I agree with you. I think you nailed it. Like, he's not. I don't see him as the type that is going to come in and take over a job right away anytime soon. He's going to need some time. So I just kind of was trying to find an unfun spot for him for a while.
Right.
He's
Yeah,
just,
just to kind of sit and yeah.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
wait a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's fine. I think that's most likely what's going to happen with him. I mean, it'd be hard. I can't see many places where he's going to come right in as a
yeah,
starter. I mean, barring like significant injuries or stuff like that. But
yep.
uh, um, all right, last guy on the list here, Trenton Simpson from Clemson. So first thing I think that stands out is he's very clearly a strong athlete. Shows off excellent speed and quickness and getting around blocks, but also strong contact balance, which I know might not be a common attribute to assign to a linebacker. That's more for like a running back, but he really good at delivering like almost like a reverse hit in hockey, where he's about to get hit or cracked and he just holds his ground and delivers a hip or shoulder back at the potential blocker and keeps him from getting taken out of the play. Great vertical movement as well. Can change gears depending on the play. Can go from a blitz look to dropping in coverage to coming downhill to stop a run, all in a very clean and fluid movement. The negatives, he can get fooled by play fakes
Mhm.
and end up way too far out of position. Wrapping up can be an issue, but it's more just taking the right angles in space. Doesn't always put himself in the best position to make a tackle, and is often juked out of his shoes in the open field. So that was that was an issue. Um, in pass defense, I mean, the versatility is the key for him. I think, he can line up right on the defensive line and work as a blitzer and be effective. He can line up in the slot, which he did a ton in 2021 and held his own.
Mhm.
He could certainly hang in a true off ball role as well. He's really explosive as well as a pass rusher. He reminds me of like a human slingshot on delayed blitzes and stunts, because he gives that second of letting the play develop, and then he's shot out of a cannon at the
Yep.
quarterback. I mean, 47 pressures and 9 sacks over the last 2 years on about 200 pass rush attempts. So that same slingshot ability, I think, works in coverage as well, because he's able to drop back, stick close enough to his receiver, and then explode on the play as soon as the ball is out. So closing quickly and limiting that yak damage, which a lot of the times is the most we can ask for linebackers in
Yeah.
coverage. But yeah, he's not immune to severe lapses in coverage either.
Mhm.
Even as one of the more experienced linebackers in this class in coverage, there are definitely some brain fart plays in zone.
Yep.
specifically, like leaving A.T. Perry wide open in the end zone is the biggest one against Wake Forest that came to mind. But there's others as well. Sometimes just tries to do a little too much out there. But I personally, I think there's a lot to like about Simpson's game as kind of a versatile linebacker that could wear a bunch of different hats, even in the NFL. There could be times where he struggles to be an elite IDP asset if he does get deployed in a multitude of ways, but could lead to some big play upside as well that will make him attractive for fantasy rosters. The athleticism is outstanding, and he's going to be valued highly by the NFL, I think, which should lead to a strong snap volume early in his career. But yeah, what did you think about Simpson?
Yeah, again, a lot of similar thoughts. Well put together build wise, 6'2", 235, and that ultra athleticism. And like you said, the NFL is going to like his traits, speed, agility, the range, the sideline to sideline range is definitely no question there. Like you said, the dude's a slingshot. I like that analogy a lot. Like you said, versatility is name of the game with him. He's played different roles at Clemson in space, overhang, box, edge. He did it all. And I thought there was some really nice reps of him carrying the tight end up the seam in the Wake Forest game specifically. I think there was 2 reps where he just was stride for stride, and one where he was able to turn his head and make a play on the ball. And he has the traits to really be a nice coverage linebacker. I think there, like you said, there are lapses though. For sure. And there was a couple of reps where he got blocked and just kind of stuck with it and was able to get off and go. I always like to see that, right? You just don't want to let yourself give up on the play. So there are instances where he was able to do that, get himself free and go get it because he's so damn explosive. Yeah. One of the biggest weaknesses you covered as well. I thought he could work on taking better angles, pursuit angles for sure, and squaring out better. You wonder if that's part of playing, so many different roles and wearing different hats that he did at Clemson. I just like to see him, progress a little bit more playing in the box. There's some things to clean up there. His reads and processing can be a little inconsistent at times. Like you said, the lapses in coverage and in the lapses processing. Been saying this about a few guys. Like to see him get off blocks more effectively, more hand uses, more hand swipes, because there was reps where he was able to get himself unblocked, unstuck, and go get it. And then there's reps where, he's just like, dude, fight a little, let's get those hands going. But overall, he's just there's a lot to like with this game. Yeah. And I'm with you. I think the NFL is going to like him and like his traits, his size, his versatility, his explosiveness. 4'4", 340, 40.5-inch vert. He's got a lot to offer there. It's Clemson linebackers are tough after the Isaiah Simmons experience, I should say. Simpson, he's had my attention this whole way through. I'd be very curious to see what kind of capital and landing spot this guy gets for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think you're right. There's going to be some hesitancy because of the Isaiah Simmons thing and then being a versatile linebacker out of Clemson as well. People are definitely not going to want to get burned by him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes in the draft. Arizona's going to end up taking him. But I went with the Washington Commanders, so this was my Washington guy. Again, it depends where he goes in the draft. I'm definitely not saying Washington should invest in another first round athletic linebacker, but falling into the second round, which I think is very possible. I think it offers a lot of versatility that the Commanders seem to value with their defense. You can pair him with a Cameron Curl in the box on passing downs. You could let Jamin Davis get some work there as well if you want to utilize Simpson as a blitzer, even with a lack of depth at nickel. Could see more of Simpson getting out there to cover tight ends and slot receivers as well. So I know they have a fair bit more high value needs, but just think this would be a nice fit for them.
I like that a lot. For sure. That's a really solid call. It'd be a nice pairing. I went with Tampa Bay.
Nice.
So, Levante David came back for one more year. Probably likely it, right? Devin White, who knows what the hell's going on there? He wants out and whatever. And you look at the cupboard, the linebacker cupboard there is not a lot. And Devin White's not exactly excellent in coverage by any means. Yeah. And Simpson could go there and, Todd Bowles could, kind kind of mold him a little bit. I think he's, like you said, he can be used as a blitzer. I think the traits are there for him to be effective in coverage. And depending, like you said, you got to figure Levante David's about done. This could be, this is it. And then what the hell happens with Devin White? I don't know. They're going to need to bring a little something to their linebacker room. And I thought maybe Simpson, if he slipped to the second round, would be somebody they could, Tampa Bay could be eyeing him up.
Yeah, that's a great call. I know I put a similar player there for my ideal fits for IDPs coming out tomorrow. I put Drew Sanders going to Tampa Bay, literally for the exact same reason. Levante David's on a 1 year. Devin White requested a trade. The blitz upside, things like that. So yeah, absolutely, I could see that being a nice fit for sure.
Love it, man.
Man, that's all 10. That's our initial 10 here. So how about we get a few sleepers from Kyle B?
Yeah, a couple sleepers. We'll just kind of run through them here. First one's Cam Jones out of Indiana, 6'1", 226. Cam Jones, he's a stout run defender. He attacks downhill aggressively, filling his run gaps. This past year, he was off to a really nice start with 54 tackles in his first 5 games. Then he had a season-ending foot injury, unfortunately. I appreciated his physicality and taking on blocks in the hole. The dude just meets him head on and doesn't really give a shit. He's here for it, I like that. At the combine, he ran a 4.6 940, and I thought he was a little faster. And I thought maybe his foot injury had something to do with that, maybe. And then he went out and improved with the 4.60 flat 40 at his pro day, which I thought was a better time for him. So that was kind of a strength and a weakness. I guess you could play it both ways. Weaknesses, definitely the foot injury, limited him to only 5 games. It was a bummer after this nice start. And I think coverage is a bit of concern with him, especially man coverage. So he's a day 3 guy, no doubt. And he's he could be like a sneaky landing spot guy. Never know. Just I liked his ability in run defense to get tackles for us in IDP. So
nice.
Next guy is just got a fantastic name, Mr. Pasta SirVocea Dennis out of Pittsburgh. Shout out Addy. I know he's a big fan. 6 foot, 226, speedy LB with range. I thought he was a pretty solid processor, and the fact that he was confident in what he sees, and I always like to see that. You know what I mean? If he sees it, he's going with it, and I always appreciate that. Right or wrong, just go get it. Shows some nice timing on his blitzes, and he's got the speed to close, hurry, and eat up ground. So I like that. Weaknesses, he's on the smaller, leaner side. He could use some bulk. I mean, kind of a common theme with a lot of these athletic linebackers, right? It's just always gonna be a problem. He needs that bulk to help him at the point of attack, taking on blockers, because I thought he just gets washed out too much. And then lastly here, D Winters out of TCU. 5'11", 227, smaller guy again, common theme, but good athlete with speed and agility. He ran a 4.49 40 at the combine. He's got some juice out there. He shoots gaps quickly, and when he keys them early and on his run blitzes, he goes with the purpose. Really like that. I thought he was an effective blitzer who can close quickly with his explosiveness and speed. And he was a straight up problem against my Michigan Wolverines in the college football playoffs. So I feel like I had to put him on this list. Like, he killed us. Him and Dylan Horton they just destroyed us. So weaknesses, again, smaller LB, struggles to get off blocks, gets driven out. I thought there was some reps where he was slow to read and react, and he was a bit hesitant. And once the blockers got into his frame, it was a wrap. And I thought there's coverage ability with Winters, but the grades were certainly inconsistent when you look. So it's a bit up and down. He's going to have to improve there if he's going to find a role. But another day 3 dart throw guy. Just some guys that kind of caught my eye watching tape, and just keep an eye on where they go. Hopefully they get a spot, and keep an eye on them in camp.
Yeah, for sure. There's always somebody, right? There's always a nice landing spot for some of these guys that we haven't covered. So yeah, Cam Jones, D Winters, and past the SirVocea Dennis. And I'm pretty sure SirVocea Dennis earned like our highest run defense grade in the country last year as well. So so a standout there, which is nice. Pretty cool for a guy with a sweet name. So yeah, good call there. So let's say we rank these guys.
Yeah.
Let's start at 10. The last 2 episodes we started at 1 and worked our way
Okay.
down. Let's go from 10 and work our way to 1. Who do you have as the 10th linebacker on your list?
The guy I was just not mad, but just disappointed about, and that was Noah Sewell was my number 10.
Yeah, same.
Safe.
Yeah, we both got Sewell as 10. We're just so disappointed in
Yeah.
Noah. He's going to be amazing in the NFL. Watch him turn it around.
Yeah.
He's like former 5-star is going to kick
Yeah.
in, and he's going to be awesome and prove us wrong. So that'll be good. That'll be nice to see.
Yeah.
But number 9, I went with Owen Pappoe at 9 from Auburn. How about you?
I had Owen Pappoe at 9 as well.
Oh, buddy.
Look
Here
at
we
us.
go.
Look at us.
Yeah. All right. Who'd you have at 8?
I had Henry 2-0 at number 8.
Okay, we're close. I had DeMarvion Overshown there. I had Henry To'o at 7.
Okay. Yeah. My number 7 is DeMarvion Overshown, and that was 2. I was flipping and flopping, and I went one notch higher with Overshown with that little bit of juice he's got,
Wow.
Wow.
So this will be interesting here because I really found this. I was kind of up and down on this class and trying to figure out where to put these guys. But we're pretty close through the first 4 here. So who did you have at 6?
Ivan Pace at 6.
Okay. That's disappointing for me.
I bet it is. I'm disappointed in myself
as Ivan Pace Sr. over here. That's no, I'm just kidding. It's absolutely makes sense. That there's the size is going to be an issue, and it might kill him as far as the NFL how they value him. So, it 100% makes sense. So
that was my biggest worry. Literally, like I said, his tape was my favorite, and we talked him up how much we liked him, and you could talk me into putting him a lot higher. This is just based off of the height, length thresholds. I'm just worried he's going to slip farther than some of the other guys ahead of him. So
nope,
but
absolutely.
I love him. I'm disappointed now.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to shame you there.
No, it's fine, man. I deserve
it. So my number 6, I went with Dorian Williams from Tulane. So it's a little bit just outside the top 5. It was close. Honestly, 6, 5, and 4 are all pretty close to me. So I went Dorian Williams at 6. But who did you have at 5?
I had Dorian Williams at 5.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so not too far off there. Yeah, I had Daiyan Henley at 5. I know he's the PFF number 1. I don't know. To me, I'm looking at it from a IDP standpoint. Just again, the smaller size thing. I didn't think he was as polished as Ivan Pace as a run defender. I moved him down a bit. I put Ivan Pace at 4.
Okay,
that's where I went. So, who was your number 4?
Yeah, 4 was Daiyan Henley, and like 4, 5, and 6, I could have switched. I liked Ivan Pace's tape the best of them all, and I just I bought into the Daiyan Henley a little bit more to offer coverage wise and stuff. But the 4, 5, and 6 that was the toughest to kind of dial those guys in. But a lot of the similar ideas there, man.
Yeah, it is. I see like the tiers for me, like they're very close. I think 4, 5, and 6 are in a tier. I have 2 and 3 in a very similar tier. I could easily be swayed as far as where to put these guys, but I ended up putting Drew Sanders at 3 from Arkansas.
Okay. I had Trenton Simpson at 3.
Okay. Yeah, he's my 2. Who did you have at 2?
Drew Sanders is number 2.
Okay, all right. Nice.
I figured it's
number 1. Jack Campbell, man. He's just he's everything you'd want from like a consistent IDP, I think. To me, I think he's going to get decent draft capital. I think he's going to push to start, depending on where he goes. I mean, most likely a team drafting him is going to have a need for him. So he should start right away. And man, I think he's just going to be a really, really good IDP option. I'd be surprised if he wasn't within that top 24 performing IDPs as a rookie, assuming he's healthy and plays the whole year. But
absolutely, man. Couldn't agree more. I just definitely don't see him getting out of round 2, and I think he's going to get a real spot, like you said, and it's going to lead to a guy who can give you immediate production. And as we said earlier, we were talking about them with this class, there's a lot of projection with some of these guys, and how are they going to fit?
Right.
Well, how does the NFL view him? Well, I know what Jack Campbell is, and
Right.
his game fits the NFL in a good way, and I think it fits IDP in a good way. It's a good
Yeah.
pairing of all that shit, and he's going to have us, provide us with some nice production, and I'm, lunch pail.
Yeah.
Your guy's gonna show up to work with your IDP lineup every week, give you 10 tackles,
Yeah.
and just high five you on the way to the shower.
Yeah, he's first one at the facility, last one to
Yeah,
leave, all that kind of stuff.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
First one
man.
in, last out.
That's it. That's it. So there you have it, folks. I mean, all the key positions now for IDP have been previewed and in the can, ready to go before the draft, which is a week away. KB, can't thank you enough for coming back on the show, shooting the shit with me to cover the incoming crop of linebackers every year. I said it's a Gloucester last week and Joey before that, but this is absolutely my favorite time of the year, getting to talk with you guys about these rookies and covering the draft, because you guys are all such fun and smart people to talk to. I really appreciate you doing this once again. Thank you, my friend.
Oh, dude, pleasure's all mine. I really appreciate inviting me on. This is what, year 3 now.
Year 3. Yep.
Yeah, this is dude, it's just a blast. I look forward to it every year. It's always great talking with you. I just the shows with Joey and Gloucester are always awesome. They're just a great listen. You guys break down the edge and safety positions just awesomely, and you get a great feel for these guys as draft day gets here, which is awesome. And I can't thank you enough for giving me the call every year and sitting down and hanging out with me and talking football, talking other stuff, and me rambling about random stories where I end up playing NBA Jam at some dude's bar and whatnot. But no, dude, appreciate all you do. You absolutely crush it with your content on both sides of the ball now. It's awesome to see. And just an awesome dude. And I really appreciate you bringing me on to hang with you, buddy.
Anytime, man. I appreciate it. I feel the same way. And yeah, the invitation is yours as long as you'll have it. So just, we'll run it back again for until we're old men podcasting out of a retirement home or something.
I'm down, dude.
These young whippersnapper linebackers.
Right? Yeah, dude. I'm down. Yeah. When we're just like disappointed grandpas instead of disappointed dads.
Exactly.
We'll keep running it back, dude.
Sounds good, man. Lock it in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really do appreciate it. You absolutely crush it out there in the IDP world. So please remind the folks where they could find you and your work.
Oh, thanks, brother. You can find me on Twitter at kbell54. Hit me up anytime. Always down to talk ball and whatnot. And then you can find all my work over at footballguys.com. I did a linebacker piece early, kind of, previewing the class, and then we did a IDP only mock draft. 6 of us from the crew. It was fun. And then after the draft, me and Joey the Tooth are gonna have a top 40 big board. So I'm pumped to see what kind of consensus top 40 we come up with after the draft capital and landing spot are all baked in. But so you can find all my stuff over at footballguys.com. We got a lot of cool stuff going on. And man, I'm excited for draft season. And dude, seriously, thanks again for having me on. This was just an absolute blast.
Oh no, thank you, man. I love it. I enjoy it every single time we get to talk. So yeah, definitely check out Kyle over at Football Guys. And as for me, everything I write up is on pff.com. We're kicking it into high gear right now for the draft. So I just wrote up a really useful wide receiver report piece for fantasy, breaking down this year's rookie wide receivers and how they got their production over the past 3 seasons. I got ideal landing spots for IDP coming out tomorrow. So that's Thursday. Skill position ideal landing spots as well coming out Friday, I think. So I'll be dropping top 50 IDP rookie rankings pre-draft as well. Maybe a few more things before I get to pack up and tour the Bowling Greens of America, where I'll be hanging with the boys in the Sode Shack and covering the draft live. I cannot wait. It's going to be a blast. So hopefully you all tune into that. And until next time, IDP